dorje chanche de lo na ro da ma ba me la che che ga bo ba de sa she ja ken ken karma ba she she join ge je pan ze na da nian da zha mian yin gen da rinpo che riwan pa sam ge xin de che pa ma mo pa yin lo do ko lo rinpo che norbo rinpo che simo rinpo che sa she
We will start this morning by reading the Jewel Ornament of Liberation.
Debe labar yinba la yina sumde rigi sunwa dabar sunwa chegi sunwa dabar na mada sumba la soba labar jeba niba na kyo am jeba la soba la dada jeba kumel labar jeba sumba nga da ranga chungma yin yala ma yinba yu ma yinba tiyo ma yinba song ma yinba rigwa ma yinba jeba tela tangba na yala ma yinba na kada shanam da jeba yu ma yinba ila ma nye koro zula khan chudengi chong mangba diwi sar jeba tiyo ma yinba na sojong la nebi tiyo su dhuma wa no shu tongwa na wa yubi tiyo su jeba sema yinba na da chang ngare nabar jeba rigwa ma yinba diji jeba yana poa mani kada shanam do jeba te jebo ni sumre nabar mi me jebo ni ida su gyawa gyutu me jebo ni mir kena chata wachi ki chungmara gyoro wanga jebo ni yu sedyu she jeba gyawa gyoro kebaran diolo yana ni kya maa yana dacho maa yinba jera labar jeba dikcha zundu maa wala yana sumde pambe zundu zun shenpa do zun changma tela tangbo 당보 님이 죄라면 주마오 니바는 다다 신라 편유이 주마오 수반의 편유이 주마오 대접을 숨래 넘버미 비드번 들으려고 규진 규진이 드번에 가서 밀기나 고아들 마와줘 왕게 드번 같이 미시를 겨워줘 개발은 준기는 대시시벌 고아다 라마라 주지면 예반함기는 대체어 참말에 얘는 숨 다지주
Sexual misconduct, the classification of sexual misconduct. There are three types of sexual misconduct: protected by the family, protected by the owner, and protected by the Dharma. The first one means sexual misconduct with one's mother, sister, and so forth. The second one means sexual misconduct with someone owned by a husband or king, and so forth. The third one has 5 subcategories, even one's own wife. Sexual misconduct refers to improper parts of the body, improper place, improper time, improper number, and improper behavior. Improper parts of the body are the mouth and anus. Improper parts are places are close to the spiritual master, monastery, or stupa, or in a gathering of people. Improper times are during a special retreat, when pregnant, while nursing a child, or when there is light. An improper number of times is more than 5 times. Improper behavior refers to beating or having intercourse with a male or hermaphrodite in the mouth or anus. The three results of sexual misconduct. The result of maturation of the act means the actor will be born as a hungry ghost. The causally compatible result means that even if the actor is born in the human realm, he will become his enemy's spouse. General result of the force, or the dominant result, means the actor will be born in a place with more dust than normal. The distinctive act of sexual misconduct is having intercourse with one's mother, who is also an arhat, which is very heavy negative karma. Lying. The classification of lying. There are three types of lying: lies that are defeats, big lies, and small lies. The first one means to lie about having one of the highest human qualities. The second one means to tell a lie that makes a difference between harm and benefit for oneself and other. The third one refers to a lie with no benefit or harm. The three results of lying. The result of maturation, the fully ripened result of means that the actor will be born in the animal realm. The causally compatible result means that even if the actor is born in the human realm, he will be slandered. The dominant result means that the actor will be born with bad breath. The distinctive act of lying. Slandering the thus gone one, the Tathagata, and lying to the spiritual master are very heavy negative karma.
Chamani sumdi zenta da shota da kora tele tabuni zo ni ngora go cha ni ba ni sholong che ne zo da cha sumba ne ko du yen che de cha ten de bolo sun number mi de bolo nyawar ke wa yor gyuthin ji de bone kadir mer ge na zo da de bolo wang de bone yu thoma ji sa ge wa ke bar ne chame na ne pabe gi de mi ne be je ba di cha chizu bolo yana sumdi ngor zuba da shod zuba da gyudi zuba tera thangpa da paribola ngor sungen sanaso mao nibane yamalam gyaga da sene paribola tsingen naso mao sumbane koyen zoula sobe chondo ngen sanaso mao ten dribula sumle nambar mibi dribane nyawara gyawa gyuro gyufingi dribane kade mirigena yido miyo danaso tebra gyuro wangi dribane yu tsako jena yu kamsa jena dishe jengi sar gyawa gyuro kebarne sikzubgi nane pamang 파관을 내비 측마가 딕치오 나게와라 얘는 숨디 로뱅아게다 지딘뱅아게 덴뱅아게로 대라 장본이 무디벤데주다 가전라서 니번에 재면당라서 숨번에 먹을바도 내면이벌 최세버티 대인지버야 숨래 남버민비 지번에 던줄게요 주로 유진기 지번에 가데 미리 깨나 디니 이쯤이 좀 주로 왕가 지번에 그 예균 로마체도 개월을 주로 케바르니 아게가 나는 최연대반은 넘버링 와체바 딕샤오 납술레나 손데 다겔 다길은 납선바다 생길 납선바다 니가 마인바라 납선바와 달라 당번에 더니 이추리다 소제다 연대다 노르자레 생지 차바 다도 매념도 서바 니바네 퍼르브 표준 차바라 차바 대다 니다에는 찜머로냐도 서바 수바네 싸우고 놀라서 다다신기 왕 차르메발라 차바데 나와는 찜마루냐를 셈바고 대 드볼라 숨는 넘버미 비드보니 이다스 깨어는 규준게 드보니 가데 미르게는 되샤 셰셰어는 주로 왕게 드보니 윤중에 베서 깨어는 주로 케바르는 납승기 나는 게 안타브로 봉하는 게 녀바 초벌 대베 심 딕체오 뉴스밀 야나 숨데 셰당가 차례기 뉴스입니다 차동이 차례죠 뉴스입니다 퀸즈기 차례죠 뉴스임소 테라 당분의 융어답을 버리고라 세상에는 쇠바선바 니번에 젠다답을 공도 셔기답을 선바 쇠발라 소바 선바 숨바는 나로 다라 네바쳐바답을 뉴버스온 쇠발라 소발라 선바 대답을 된 드블을 좀 넘버 미미 드블은 냐워겨 유딩기 드블은 가데 메리게나 세다 셰쳐르겨 왕가 드블은 세 카시 주베서 겨원겨 케버는 뉴스기난 참여가 샴버 잡은디 딕치오 로버타와라 예나 숨데 렌델로 로버타와다 덴발로 로버타와다 쿠조로 로버타와 텔라 당보네 레기디 텐 드부 동에기 규르 메데바 니바네 람게 데마 냠솔라니 고베데 미토버데바 수바네 Kujosum Medium Bartaja, go on the Votin Dribula Sumle. Number me with Dribun to Drukia, you drink it Dribun Hadi Midcan and Timu Sheshan. One get Dribun, Dribuyeme with Sakya, Cabaran, Lodiana, and Tawa Simba the Dick Chow. I did it.
Divisive speech. The classification of divisive speech. There are three types of divisive speech: dividing forcefully, dividing indirectly, and dividing secretly. The first means to divide friends in front of them. The second one means to divide two friends with indirect language. The third refers to secretly dividing. The three results of divisive speech. The ripened result of the act means that the actor will be born in the hell realm. The causally compatible result means that even if the actor is born in the human realm, he will be separated from his loved ones. The dominant result means that the actor will be born in a place where it is uneven. The distinctive act of divisive speech. Within divisive speech, using unpleasant words within noble sangha is very heavy negative karma. Harsh words. The classification of harsh words. There are three types of harsh words: direct, circuitous, and indirect. The first one is forceful, directly digging at someone's various faults. The second one is to use sarcasm or some funny words just to hurt. The third one is to dig at someone's various faults by saying bad things to his friends or relatives. The three results of harsh words. The result of maturation of the act means that the actor will be born in the hell realm. The causally compatible result means that even if the actor is born in the human realm, he will hear a lot of unpleasant news. The dominant result means that even the actor will be born in a dry, hot place where there are more evildoers than usual. The distinctive act of harsh words. Using harsh words to harm one's parents or noble ones is very heavy negative karma. Idle talk. The classification of idle talk. There are three types of idle talk: false, worldly, and true. The first one means reciting the mantras and reading the texts of heretics and so forth. The second one is useless chatter. The third one is giving Dharma teachings to those who have no respect and who are improper vessels. The three results of idle talk. The fully ripened result means that the actor will be born in the animal realm. The causally compatible result means that even if the actor is born in the human realm, his word will not be respected. The dominant result means that the actor will be born in a place with inappropriate weather. Distinctive act of idle talk. Within idle talk, distracting those who are practicing the Dharma is very heavy negative karma. Covetousness. Covetousness, there are three types of covetousness: with regard to one's own, with regard to others, with regard to neither. The first one means being attached to one's own race, clan, body, qualities, and wealth, thinking, there is no one like me. The second one being attached to others' prosperity and thinking, I wish I owned this. The third one is being attached to an underground mind or the like, which belongs to no one, and thinking, I wish I owned that. The three results of covetousness. The fully ripened result means that the actor will be born as a hungry ghost. The causally compatible result means that even if the actor is born in the human realm, he will have an even stronger covetousness. The dominant result means that he will be born in a place with bad harvests. The distinctive act of covetousness. Desiring to rob the wealth of a renounced one is very heavy negative karma. 9. Malice. Classification of malice. There are three types of malice. Malice that comes from hatred, from jealousy, and from resentment. The first means the desire to kill others with hatred, as in battle. The second means the desire to kill and so forth a competitor out of fear that he will best you. The third means the desire to kill and so forth while holding past harm in mind. The results of malice. The fully ripened result of malice means that the actor will be born in the hell realms. The causally compatible result means that even if the actor is born in the human realms, he will experience even stronger hatred. The dominant result means that the actor will be born in a place where the foods are bitter and coarse. The distinctive act of malice. Within malice, commission of the heinous crimes is a very heavy negative karma. Wrong views. The classification of wrong views. There are three types of wrong views. Wrong view about cause and result, about the truth, and about the three jewels. The first one means not believing that suffering and happiness are caused by non-virtue and virtue. The second one means that not believing that one attains the truth of cessation, even if the truth of path is practiced. The third one means not believing in the three jewels and slandering them. The three results of wrong views. The fully ripened result is that the actor will be born in the animal realm. The causally compatible result is that even if the actor is born in the human realm, he will have even deeper ignorance. The dominant result means that the actor will be reborn in a place with no crops. The distinctive act of wrong views. Within wrong view, belief only in literal, rational, observable truth is very heavy negative karma.
이 보양대를 쳤다. 다드네 그러셨다. 다절에야 이제 나로래야 가장 쉬운 신경 대한 첼론 뒤에네 게르미게 지리바 레기람니 줄송소 스타트리 솜라래 디네 첼론 사데 첨부 안다디 기적에면 딱 안다라야 레람 류가 듬보데 류기 숨는 아가시부데 레람 니가 임바체 치마 이기 숨보데 레기 람이 발레 레기 람이 발레 레마이 바 디네 숨어 알아서
Now, as I mentioned yesterday, as it says in the treasury of Abhidharma, to generalize grossly, all of the virtues and non-virtues are categorized in the 10 paths of karma. Now, when we look at, this is a gross generalization. Gross here means that overall, or on the large scale. And what this means is that with the acts of body and speech, that is the 3 non-virtues of body and the 4 of speech, these are acts, and they're also the path of action. With the 3 of mind, they are paths of action, however, they are not themselves action.
다디바들이야 나니 주메군 주거리야다 당분에 참바지 개외하래 참바 개외자 안디 모두 주메군 주거리야 추준이체 샤베지의 치료지 추준이체 우주시 개지 디젤이야 안 도르치지 와르나스니 연두사는 바지 단 나와지지 치료를 대하러 비슷한 거 정래 pneumonia 루지 나체 pneumonia 뭐래 pneumonia 루지 나체 디지지 칼라하브르 총래 엔달로 달로 미세 다다 마데와 가민도 다 이미 디세 만남 딩엘이야 군주에 소도 모남 걸리야다 내가 망보를 체상 디 균선을 된 디스칼레 카데베 소르치 뉴바시라 메데벤 로치 삼로던 두산 삼로시나 땅마도 브리스도 안드레인 두산에 아니 소주 체베 걸리야 안 캬스 지 사블레야 지 시라랑지 가르 참sam지 구주시라면도 선서로 되어서를 다디 가라선다 룽아 이숨기 숭 암뉴바데 마부 조사인사 디균센 데네 용디 아르 디 캬츠 캬바체과디 개청도 쉬어야
Now last year, during the first winter Dharma gathering for nuns, I had the cold and flu, and I was teaching 2 Dharma sessions per day, and I really pushed myself to teach the teachings, and it just got worse. And by the time I got to Varanasi, it got so bad that I couldn't even go outside for like a month. I had pneumonia, and it was a very difficult situation. This year, I don't have any health problems. There's nothing wrong with my health-wise. However, beginning with the Guncha and during the monks' Guncha and during the Munlam, I worked very hard, and so I'm rather tired now, actually, and I haven't much energy left, and I'm not really thinking clearly, and so I'm not certain if what I am going to say has really much meaning to it, or is all that understandable. And the reason for that is I've basically used up and exhausted all the energy of my body, speech, and mind. So that is just something I would like you to understand to begin with.
가장 고수변은 신기 미기와 될량 number 10 of it duega 나로래야 아니 시다 상바당 시다 두시에다 상바다 녀몽바다 다가는 신기 터돌라서 바다 되게 연락아 성수 number 10 of duega 나로래야 개버 송여 그래 드네 주산에 개버지도 슈도면도 대인비냐 durdu samji shushok shayi.
As I mentioned yesterday, when we are discussing the non-virtues, in the Compendium of Ascertainment, or Tenalapadua, or the Vinishchaya Samgraha in Sanskrit, it mentions that there are 5 aspects. It mentions that there are 5 aspects that need to be present in order for it to be one of the 10 non-virtues. These are the basis, the conception, the affliction, the basis, the conception, the intention, the affliction, and the completion. So all 5 of these must be present according to the Compendium of Ascertainment. Now, I'm not going to explain these in great detail, but I would like to give an overview of them.
다치당기 땅아 좀 미교 주사디 계시무시샤디 아래 미교 주디 야우샤고에면 나 개와주 가레스 가르브레드지 냠슬랭금에 신토야르지 지당기 개와주사디 소시 머짐바 소수 마제바 zamgi 소수 방에 개와요한테 가보시 인계성도 다 소수 마제바 zam다 루마데는 차로 말해 루마데는 시야지 소수 마제바 zam시 다 루마데는 지마도 되 개와 샤트야데 가버시 다 이내 개와사데 소수 마제바 zam기 소수 방에 개와요 마이바 시스템전 텔라 밍네 삼바 소수기 니믹 통네 뽕데버를 지당 저라이 비냐 삼바디 소주기 네바 니믹 통네 뽕데바 저라티 소주발 양타바 소주발 담베 두시게네 다 더도 소주발 양타바 담바 데데가 루지 레지를 바지 샤고 아래 인두스탄에 드라스 지소 마제바 sam시기 소 마제바 소제바 방에 개와요 카보레 강다리양 고란지 미기와디 무지야바 셰토나 엔 개와지 팀 숭로도디 아버지 하고도 그래서 엄청게 안 다는 시다 삼바디 상물로 되는 시래 미기와에게 시선 저와 타돌라서 니즈지 야부하고입니다. 아니 개와주 계획이 되지 삼바당 그런 계단다. 다가는 신 저와 냠설 렌다다. 다가는 신기 지 터도 가져야지 yang tabar damdang la so de ha khore samthang yu
It is very important to understand the 10 non-virtues. If you understand the 10 non-virtues well, then you will automatically understand how to practice the 10 virtues. And this is because if we think about the non-virtues of killing or stealing, merely not killing or not stealing is actually neutral. It doesn't really necessarily become a virtue. So merely not killing or merely not stealing is actually karmically neutral. And it doesn't necessarily become a virtue. In order for it to become a virtue, then you have to understand that when you're looking at the basis, that is the person that you, or the being that you would kill, and understanding that that when the wish to kill arises and seeing that as bad, then also seeing the preparations for killing as being bad, and deciding to refrain from doing, from once the wish to kill arises, deciding to refrain from that, and then that is what becomes a virtue. So merely not killing itself is not the virtue of giving up killing or refraining from killing. On the other hand, if we understand the faults of the non-virtues and decide to refrain from them, then that does become true virtue. And that means that we need to understand the basis for the action, the preparation, the conception, and the completion, and so forth. And so for this reason, if we understand the bases and the conceptions, the afflictions, the preparations for the non-virtues, then we will, because of that, we will be able to understand the intention, the motivation, the practice, and the completion of the virtues as well.
Shism Jawata to share you, Sana Bena Soja to Chasha Yumina Soja she Semje Bena looked over Jimina Soja she Semje looked over the Digba Choyo Manas. That would the Soja use them. Yungen Zibi Chesam Ramadabe. That the Mr. Dibake Choyamanas. Tana sing Dushi Diba Chat Choyamanas. Dushi said the Carestana Pena Lula didn't Lugino Nyabe Carlo Lugino Samakatindegi Lula Lugi Lure Sha Samsaro Digi Dusheva Zamato Vegi Maybe in Dusana Tiga Dibur Juyamanas.
And so when we think about if we examine the basis, the intention, the preparation, and the completion with killing, for example, with killing, the basis for this would be a sentient being, such as, shall we say, a sheep. So now merely there being a sheep is not a misdeed. It is just recognizing the object of killing as the object of killing. The object of killing is not the misdeed. Likewise, there is the conception. That also is not a misdeed. Here the conception means recognizing that sheep as, oh, that's a sheep, and thinking of it as a sheep. So thinking of the sheep as being a sheep is also not the misdeed or non-virtue.
Dan dushe tuma dusa yongdi dushe tuma du. Bena Kasa Jeshi de Losangi Losan the Tunis Losan Resha some Norne Kasa Jeshi de Losan in Norche Casual session with the Yongers, Yon Sigare, 진짜기 개발 제베체도 난 두시디 추모주 개발 제베체도 두시디 송입니다.
Now, the reason that the conception is stated here is because the conception needs to be accurate. For example, if we were to think that Tashi was Lobsang and then kill Lobsang thinking he was Tashi, then we would be mistaken. And this is possible that this could happen. And so in order to distinguish this, we make the distinction as to whether the conception is accurate or not.
다드네 녀모데 디보마이스 근데 론세다 녀모데서 디보마이스 녀모자디 디페나 소준데 이끌론 깨버체베 게임 발에 장응을 소주버치기야 말해 딩이 주사네 디균전에 되네 디보샤가 말해 빼나 미지기 미신다질이야 그 미신다질에 키땅이미나 키땅나 키땅니 키디 퍼류보텔 소시게이미나 소갸바보디 키디레 마다베기 미디바레스 드네인 주산다 텐더치 챤네 이브라.
Now, next are the afflictions. The afflictions are also not deeds. They are the affliction that motivates the action, but they are not misdeeds. They are a condition that instigates the act, but they are not actually killing themselves, and they themselves, therefore, are not the misdeeds. So, for example, if someone sees someone else and lets loose a vicious dog upon them, that vicious dog goes and bites the other person, then the person who released the dog didn't bite, and so didn't actually do the act. It was the dog that did the biting, and so it is like this.
다드네 꿀론디 순디기 꿀론사나 쇠심지어 바다 순디기 꿀론사나 라도 쇠심지어 다데바지 디벌레 샤고야로 쳐요래 가레사나 꿀론 매베이나 소준디기 꿀론 매바 쇠심디 매베이나 베는 데네지기 가르라 베는 룩더 세베이나 룩스디기 꿀론 매베이나 룩디 쇠야 쳐도 지 짓다야라 소바당 다가나시 룩티야라 소바당 다가나신기 룩티비 쳐도 판로 순로 차라 소바 진데기다 조라티즈 미제베 인주산 디규즈데네 다 순디기 꿀론 쇠심디 아니 바지 미겨버지 샤고와 처음에는 성도.
Then there is the motivation. For example, the motivation to kill, or the intent to kill, or the wish to kill. And we probably have to say that this is a misdeed. And the reason for that is that without this wish to kill, or the intent to kill, then there's no killing. For example, with a sheep, if you have the sheep, but if you don't have the motivation to kill the sheep, then you won't sharpen the knife, bring the sheep, tie it down and get it ready for killing, and so forth. You won't engage in any of the preparations for the act of killing. And so, for that reason, the motivation to kill, the intent to kill or wish to kill, is a non-virtue.
다나신기 조라디 소죄베기 네급기 차와 디급기 소죄베 차와디에다 조라디엔 바지 디고 샤과 미스트니 루사네 베나 룩딘 주심 안 다나신기 텔라야 지주 엔다디 룩스당 망보여로 룩스당 나소여레 아주 바이디스는 룩이 다 주도디 보어서만 다디 주도는 다 담지 우수단 세샤래 엔 참참네 룩이 좋아나야지 가르래 좋아들래 지주지 닝기 자요 봐 제셔도 자 제셔도 다 될라서 봐 도나 룩무스 쇠베 내가 보다 룩 차와디 마제베이나 룩디 미치바이 뉴스안에 디균센나 되네 다 소주베기 조르암 차와디 디버샤고 그렇죠.
Then there is the preparation or the action of the killing. And this does have to be, the preparation and the act does have to be presented as killing. And so this means like catching the sheep and then either stabbing the sheep. There are actually different ways to slaughter a sheep. In my country, they would take a bag and tie it around the sheep's mouth and nose, tie it tight and suffocate the sheep. Other places they'll cut it through the abdomen and sever the arteries to the heart. There are many different ways to kill a sheep. At any rate, all of these acts, if you do not do these different actions, then the sheep will not die. And so without this preparation or without the action, then there is no misdeed. So the preparation or action itself is a misdeed.
다드네 터투디 다 디버 샤투야 가보치가 알아. 터투디 다드리자 디버 뭐만더디 디버거에디 딱 소주더블 참베이나 되는 소주의 입에 쇠심디 소주의 굴론데다 쇠심데다 다는 소주의 내가 소주의 다 차와 다 루가 차와서 뭐래 왔다 되는 루기 차와 다 디니보디 디버샤고 알죠.
Then there is the completion of the act, and the completion of the act, it is actually difficult to say that the completion of the act itself is also a misdeed. The actual misdeed with killing, for example, is the motivation to kill, the intent to kill, and then it is the acts that you perform that lead up to it, the acts and preparations with body and speech. So the physical and verbal acts you do, those are the actual misdeed.
다와나 되네야 도바지인 거 봐. 다와나 꿀론자 디버 차가민도스. 꿀론 소준의 꿀론 산나도 스스인데 디버 차가민도스. 디버 미자의 견생 가라서 빼나 녀모바데 장기 무슨 디버 차가미에 인상 디 꿀론 깨버체베 깬삼레 무슨 디버 차가미에 인상 디 견생을 되네 디버 차가민도 와스 디 디버 차가미에이나 소준의 꿀론데 미네야 아니 디버 차가미에 견생 총도스 가라사나 소준의 꿀론 코랑 무슨 루기 소주 마르와스 룩스 마르와스 드네 뉴스안에 룽아게 조라케베 깬섬 마도베게 디 디버 마이스 녀모바데 디버 마이바데 녀모바다 다 리그치 균진진으로 쳐도 왔어. That is TV입니다.
But here there is a doubt that comes in. So some people will say that the intention or the motivation to kill, the intent to kill, is not the misdeed. And the reason they'll say that is that it's the same as with the afflictions. As we said with the afflictions themselves do not do the killing. They merely act as a condition that motivates the killing, but they are not the actual misdeed itself. Now, without that affliction, then there is no motivation to kill. But the motivation to kill itself, that motivation alone does not kill the sheep, for example. That merely acts as a condition that instigates the actions of body and speech. So therefore, for the same reason as afflictions are not considered misdeeds, this motivation should also not be considered a misdeed. The reasoning is exactly the same, they say.
이나 다디 충고만스 요새 충고만스 요새 민족에 좀 요새 민족의 진시나 소준도 이끌어 스심 매나 녀몽바 여가 잠시기 룽아니 디과 지금 말했어 녀몽바 여가 잠시 디과 지금 말했어 빼나 루샤 산도에 싶지 그렇지 루기 샤르찬 다 루샤지 사고도 삼네 근데 그 루샤 산도기 되샤 쉽지 진짜 되샤 세바 숙천부 쉽지 람바이네야 룩슨도 마게나 룩슨도 그런 마게나 아니 루스야가 룽아기 조라치고 말아 아 드림이 준세나 때네 룩슨도 이글론데 딱 매도 미롱으로지 매도 미롱 와서 말아 다지 드림 뉴스나 디준세 때네 안다고 덮쳐서 쉬지 다 개침으로지 자디 알았어
However, the reasoning is not the same. The reasoning that it's not the same is that without the motivation to kill, if you merely have the affliction, then you do not have the misdeeds, the acts of body and speech. It's like the example, if you think to yourself, I've got to have a lamb chop. I have to have a lamb chop. You have this really strong desire, I've got to have lamb chops, and you have craving for the lamb chops. Then if you don't, you may have that craving and desire, but if you do not actually have the motivation to kill a sheep, then you will not engage in the acts of the body and speech. And so for that reason, the motivation, the intent to kill, is absolutely necessary and is very strong and powerful.
나중에 이제 오다 진짜네 가서다 시상바죠 터두스야지 다 터두스야 도나 오다 진짜 나 대한 조심 대한다 조심사디 남시 군대는 안 줄이야 내비치체 심중사디 유왕 유당왕보 겐체베 체베 겐게 루루루도 네 주고요 지당기 조심 이나고 가르쳐 군종아 코르단지에서 말아 다 예여버듯이 다 예비네 지당 군종아 사들량 아주 체라나왜 군종아 숨겨 봐 내된 데바데서 군주 듄스들이 시에도 드린주스타야디 체라나와서 말다 저글로리아 아주 군주 나시가 봐 내된 데바데서 군주 듄스들이 시에가 알아 딱 한다라 디체네 심중사데 유왕 체베 겐게 루루루르던 데단 데오냐베 단 데발라서와 단 제기 룽아이디 무슨 꼴주 생겼으므로 무슨 원규 챙겨놓디 무슨 발 유는 죽버 챙겨놓디 안다 간다를 줘도 심중됐어요 용대 유사에 제가 남시사의 균사도 여베체 심중사의 이제 경가 체된 거 기지기 서머로 경가로 체된 게 나도 이제 사도 견다 체베잖아요 망보지 용대 알아들지 이번에 안저 인주사네
And so that is the discussion of the basis, the intention, the preparation, and the completion. Now, there's the primary mind, and the primary mind refers primarily to the consciousness, the continuum of consciousness. There are also mental factors. The mental factors are the temporary mental events that occur through the object and the faculty encounter. So these are what primarily make us engage the object. And with the primary mind, there are said to be 5 universal mental factors, 5 ever-present mental factors. Actually, this is for the exposition or Vaibhashika tradition. In the Theravada tradition, they say that there are 7. So in the exposition tradition, as presented in the Treasury of Abhidharma, there are the 5 universal mental factors. And in the Theravada tradition, there are the 7. And now, so the mental factors thus refers to those mental events that arise temporarily based upon the encounter of the faculty and the object. And these are what actually control our actions of body and speech. These are what actually control or motivate our actions. And so in this respect, it is the mental factors that cause us to engage with the body. And so here we should understand, therefore, that the consciousness, the primary mind, is the continuum, and the mental factors are the momentary events, the temporary events that arise and perish, that arise because of the encounter of the object and the faculty.
That ne lunga migewa this ya the lera versto. Tai ne yigi migewa this jikarre. Na this ya this ya this cover somewhere that this manarashi. Shism jo atadu siade this and digi ben nafsim double chatsane ji shubi mina jugmedo something do.
So these are with the misdeeds and non-virtues of body and speech, it is relatively straightforward and easy to understand. However, if we are to describe the non-virtues of the mind, then the description is a bit more difficult, or you could say less straightforward. In terms of the basis, the intention, the preparation, and the completion. So to illustrate it with covetousness, for example.
That nafsim sedusane. That nafsim di kadijresana. Pena nafsim gi gulon di. Chidangi that the Tagan Alolia, Napsim Nabasum Shanadua, Napsim Nabasum Shedusane, Napsim Sumbudi Nangi. Niba de Mada Vega, Tambota Tamani, Napsim Momara Chum Heveroch. Napsim Batsamada Begi, Migiwaji Nanzengi, Napsim de Chagamevesoch, the Nidishore. That is Chigure, Chevachare. Kandria, Napsim said, Napsim, you go on the Garasana, Pena, Mijil Tassan, that and Choskim, that is not usual. Mijil Morasan, what you have said. Morea, which you have said. Morea, what he, Tangala Tomna be Jimaru, somebody of Jig, Nala Tomna Jita, Kandra, somebody of the Dijigi. Golongen tadi chu lendegi sambaru tene chung tene jorwati tene modati yenden sambaru modati kejueru tizuli yabe yane yado samdonada tap modati la function du karadoa modati la function sambaru tingsan ke function pejueru kandedoa yenden kandedoa tende yang takjisha yang be samle nalo yang yang do tokjisha da ta ngal modati de me samne ji sem donga ja da ta modati ngala thomna gala sambaru de ji yane yando sambala soba na dizu joradi de ji bra.
So with covetousness, if we look at the covetousness as described in the jewel ornament of liberation, there are three types of covetous that are listed there. Of these three, only the second is actually the covetousness. The first and the third are not the actual covetousness. They are not the covetousness that would be included in the 10 non-virtues. They are a covetous state of mind, but they are not the covetousness that is described as one of the 10 non-virtues. So this is the distinction that is made. Now, with the motivation of covetousness, it's like if someone sees someone who has a nice horse, or that's maybe a better example these days is someone who has a really nice car. You think, oh, they've got a great car. I need a car like that. If I had a car like that, wouldn't it be great? And so the motivation is thinking, wouldn't it be great if I had the car? So the motivation is wanting to get that car for yourself. The preparation or the action of it is to think about the features or the qualities of that car over and over again. You think about its features over and again. You think about the qualities, the features, and think about them again and again. Or it is the sort of, it is the upset mind of thinking, oh, I don't have a car like that. I wish I had a car like that. Or also the thought, thinking over and over again, oh, I'd be really happy if I got a car like that. So all of this is the preparation.
된대게 삼주로 lem망도 체네 양내 양도 체인 주사네 에네 레시기 체나다 주주지를 주사네 삼을 셰 매바 되네베 모라틴 되베게 사바 통통 봐서 사바 슈트하고 통통 봐도 되지 중거래스 다들 납성 뭐마디 데레스 안드레스가
And so when you think about it in this way over and over again, you have this intention and this preparation over and over again, then at some point you'll get to the point where you can't think of anything else, and your mind is just completely consumed with the thought, oh, if only I could have that car. And so that is the point where you have the actual covetousness that is meant here.
니기면 세셔나 시차 가나 가시 뒤 가서 추디에 뭐가 소소리 지키다 니면 세셔나 시차 근데 그래요 오케이 드레인 주산다 납습디 남주 되샤가 차시지 그래서 거다 납습 되샤가 차시지 인스 그래서 거다.
And so covetousness is generally said to be a type of desire.
드레인 주산 납습 드레인 주산 납습디 미기와 이제 미기외 레마이스 미기와도 미기외 레 디스 개발 샤고서 미기와 이제 미기외 다데 가버서 다 아래 미기와 이제 미기외 레마이스 라오다 네.
And so the covetous here is thus said to be unvirtuous, but it is not unvirtuous action, it is not an unvirtuous karma. So this is a slight distinction here. It's actually a rather difficult distinction, but we can say that covetousness is a non-virtue, but it is not an unvirtuous karma.
한도는 된대비 납습디 야 참참 뒤지 당부 납습디 슉상고 게. 야 된대 리식 송나 뒤지디 소나 야고 나 된대 납습니다 방해도 주네 팔아니네 명명받는 납습 매받다 보지 다 찬로 납습 명명받 찬 납습 팔아니 찬 명명받다 보지로 야 따든 되베 굴론다 야 따들 이 가서다 모다디 야 되베 굴론다 야 모다디기 니즈디줄래야 비삼동아기 되게 좋아 니 개베미네 야 공개 납심 팔아니에디 마 방에 명예수도 여바디 라용 유수도 있게네 요한디 하다.
And so when we have this covetousness, at first it is very intense, it is very strong, but then at some point it becomes latent. It's no longer manifest and no longer evident, and so it has become latent. And at that point, we but then at some point, that motivation of, because of the motivation of wanting that car and the situation of having thought about it over and over again, then at some point that when we think about the car, then that latent covetousness, which had been invisible, again will become evident.
드레인 주산 납심 운규르도 운도 규가 제바보 사는라도 운규도 차 겐르버디 드네 공도슈바는 신기 안에 모라데 톰되기 글론 당 다나지 모라티 연델라 양양 또베 조와니 부디기 지기의 인사 된데 삼주르니 부디 레이 바레 된데 삼주르니 부디 레암 다 디봉 만로데 파지 대처가 유스레 납심디 디니 이겐기 내가 운도 규어삼 운규도 템바삼 마도베기 가르에 공을 가르로 드린 인스티 균자는 때네 다 삼주르니 부디 레샤 납심 코랑 파지 녀모르 지 샤고 싶으면로 나들이시레샤.
And so the actual covetousness is the condition that causes it to become, is merely a condition that causes the covetousness to become manifest, as I described before. It's the wish to get the car, the intention of wishing to get the car, and the action of thinking about it over and over again. These two, this intention and the action, these two are what we present as the actual karma. These are the actual misdeed. The covetous attitude itself is just a temporary condition that causes it to become manifest, and so that is not the actual misdeed. The actual misdeed we therefore have to present as the intention and the preparation of thinking it over and over again. The covetousness itself should be classified as an affliction.
다 녀모려야 방해의 운균이 다 건도시바는 이게 녀모의 방해의 운균이 대한 배차샤바입니다. 포밤 뇌시식 나로려야 춘용매 강 춘용마식이 강네 용마쟁이 추식이 강 샤바입니다. 아니 리식 상비나 리식베 망구어체 내가 불 망구어체 이런 구여자는 마다마치 샤샤비입니다. 용마테서 오더 손에 용마테서 딱 만나와 주루요 아래. 대는 신기 딱 나라주 셈디 녀모베 녀와데 셰베 이나야. 아니 치르그 수저지로서 베 유득데 유당 왕부 마체비 유당 안다나 수수기 다 가르쳐야지 왕봉아부터 마체비 이미나 아니 녀모데서 셈게롱도 파 손에 저서 차단라서 봐 랑겨요 말해 되네 다 당기기 포밤 뇌세가 난게 녀모지기 추디 신도 저 주부 이미나 대주부이면 아니 녀마다서 참말로 오도 예비 녀마다서 야 추르니 괜라야 랑네 아니 추디 미장와서 말어 녀마지 고 운교도 가르쳐다 운세 되버려 차용 거래 다가는 신기 지 가르에 치르기 수저지를서 유다 왕보드 태연들산에 대주기 하나 되네 아니 아주 셈게 롱도 가르에 지 손에다 지 녀모마디게 상으로 방해도 손 녀모마디 응원도 교네 되네 아주 유 가르에 자 미상화 시기에 와서 바로 드립샤입니다.
And so in this way, there are these two different types of the afflictions. There are the latent afflictions and there are the manifest afflictions. It's like, for an analogy, if you have a glass or a bowl of water and it's filled with dirty, silty water, if you let that water sit for a while and you don't disturb it for a while, then the silt or the contaminant in the water will settle to the bottom, and you then won't be able to see it. It's as if the water is clear. Similarly, our mind, it's as if our mind is polluted or contaminated with the afflictions. However, if at times when there is no connection, or when there are no external objects such as form, sound, smell, taste, and touch that appear to the as objects of the five faculties, when the objects and the faculties are not encountering each other, then at that point the afflictions then settle down in the space of the mind, and at that point the greed and the aversion do not arise. However, it's just as with the cup, glass, or bowl of water. If you stir it with a stick, then when you stir it with a stick, all of the silt and all of the muck in the water will then immediately come up into the water, and it'll be evident how contaminated the water is. Similarly, when the five faculties encounter the external objects of form, sound, smell, taste, and touch, then that acts as a condition which then stirs up the latent afflictions from within the space of the mind so that they become evident, and then it's as if our beings are contaminated again.
어다들이 인주스탄에 납심라 소바 이기 미겨 숨부디 뉴모임발에 다 레마이스 아드르소 뉴모임발에 레마이스 디균젠데 가라스나 납심디 뇌샤기 차르도베 뉴모바 뇌심디 샤당기 차르도베 뉴모바 데네 록다 디무기 차르도베 뉴모바 이브레소.
And so for this reason, the three misdeeds, or the three non-virtues of mind, covetousness and so forth, are said to be afflictions, but they are not action. And for this reason, then covetousness, and the reason for this is that covetousness is an affliction that is considered a type of desire. Malice is an affliction that is considered a type of aversion, and wrong view is an affliction that is considered a wrong type of ignorance.
드린 주산에 배차샤베이미나 지기주수 지게 뒤려야 신갑마다베 신갑답에 레 마셔베이나 땡기 뒤래 난 지분 주고 말아 로도라서 지분 주고 말아 어다 대신도 납심을 써봐 예나야 가르쳐 그로 삼조르니 버디 매베이미나 Then look seven developers of Mithoba. Those in Mare.
So it's like if you have a field and you do not sow any seeds in it in the springtime, then in the autumn you will not have any crops. Similarly, you may have the covetousness, but if you do not sow it or till it, for example, with the intent and the preparation, then you will not have the result, which is killing sheep out of desire and so forth.
왜 다들이 인주산에 디게 돈의 시선
And so that is a brief overview of the basis, intent, action, basis, intent, preparation, and completion.
디나로리아 타게나로리아 다 지부 망고스도 아래 왕가 지부도 다변 지부다 디수직 가수에 지부 망고스도 아래 아다 디 토알이비나 디 가시에지 고마데어 가시를 시고 어디 왔다 가시에디 디나로리아 주인기 지부급리아 카트미신바 겨울 주로스 손주산에 다디바지 마주디사 측주고왕게 딕바지 딕셰체베 사께원 주로사데 딕셰체와사데 디 딕바디 마라즈 기디기 딕바데 마임바 디갈 딕셰체와사데 심지 딕발라 소바 딕바라자 아주 딕바라자 소바 어다 심지 딕바라자라 소바 진짜기 강외 지 서시 지수로 진짜 계획 지수로 내서 교육와 근데 소인 보자 치주 왕가 지부디
Now, in the jewel ornament of liberation, it talks about the many different types of results that come from each of these non-virtues, the dominant result, the causally compatible result, and so forth. And some of these are maybe not so easy to understand. One of them is in harsh words. And in harsh words, in this English translation, it says that you'd be born in a dry, hot place where there are more evildoers than normal. The word for evildoer in Tibetan is dikpa. And dikpa here is also the word that is used for misdeeds, as in non-virtues and misdeeds. However, it also has another meaning, and that other meaning is that it means scorpions. So here it means scorpions, not evildoers. So the dominant result is that the actor will be born in a dry, hot place where there are more scorpions and so forth, other dangerous animals.
다들이 유산의 지당기 소주발라 소베기 다 남이기 가르셔 다 지당기 남주 가르신 거라서나 대화 탐지에 개발은 중화다 동해 탐지 미개발은 중화 다들이 쓴거 아래 이내야 갑디기 지 가르셔 남이 대화다 동해 사다다 남중 알아서 대화 동에 시야들에 디스 개발을 제고요 버릇이 대도 삼정게 남이 디도다 초와 디도를 개발 제고하죠. 지레디들이 뭔냐 하네. 상계설이다.
Now, in the discussion of the fully ripened results, it talks about, as usual, we often say that all happiness arises from virtue and all suffering arises from non-virtue. Now here when it talks about the fully ripened results as being happiness or as being suffering, then this is a little bit different than the happiness and the suffering that we normally think of. And so the fully ripened results of happiness and suffering are different from the sensations of pleasure and pain.
대한 가르레 사람 베나 다 미망고치 원루 무시 셔두잖아 차세요 아래 차세두잖아 미망고치 강에 둥날 전부 좀 유서와 강에 전부 가지마 명아울라도 뿜무나가도스 엔다나 신기 지게바 나가도스 같은 망고요 어디도 안데 이제 차차와를 되네 초와 대원 중에 예외에서 말은 초와 동행데 어디 유서래 안다들이 유산에 지직체 다나신 샤세발을 되네 그 내가 들려야 샤디 좋아하신 분의 인상 심배 초와 대외 초와로 지금 거로 와들이 드린주사 로시발 되네 심배 초와도 대외 초와 중고래 드린주사는 다 되게 심배 초와 대외 초와디 nami deware shetu da khabure drin du sa di kyun zel dene nami didu tang choa didu ni de dis kebar sha go yo ro chi dene ripsto.
Now, the reason for saying this is it's like when someone is doing the 4 Ngundro preliminary practices and they're doing the prostrations. When you do prostrations, it's really difficult and it can be painful. And people come and they're always complaining, oh, my knees hurt from doing prostration, my back really aches from doing prostrations. And so it's not definite that you're going to feel pleasure from doing prostrations. You may well feel pain from doing prostrations. Or similarly, if you eat meat, then when you eat it, you may feel like, oh, this is really delicious, and you may feel really sated from it. So from the taste, and you have this feeling of being delicious and sated, and it's a pleasurable feeling. And so for that, but that is a feeling of pleasure, but it is not the fully ripened result of pleasure. These two are different. And so this is why we have to distinguish between the fully ripened results that are pleasure and pain from the feelings or sensations of pleasure and pain.
Gewala dene dribu nami dewan zhungwa ta migewa dene nami dungen zhungwa yinpe ne ya ji karshu ya gewala dene kibu cheben dribu samarwe kibu cheben dribu sananda dakben dribu la dungen yon shoba tang dana singi migewa dene kibu cheben dribu la dakben dribu la ya ane ji dewa yon shoba 근데 얘가 캐랑마 있나 봐지 드리에서 다 한도 제샤 다 봐지 드리지 다 한다 내가 좋았으면 영어 쳐버려 주지면
And so for that reason, when we perform virtues, the fully ripened result of the virtue is pleasure or happiness. The fully ripened result of non-virtue is suffering. However, through doing virtues, we can experience other types of results. There is the personal result, which can, and the dominant result, and these can be painful or suffering. Likewise, through doing non-virtues, we can have the personal result or the dominant result, which can be pleasurable. But these are not the fully ripened results. So there are the temporary feelings of pleasure or pain that arise from the actions, but it is from the fully ripened results that virtue leads to pleasure and non-virtue leads to suffering.
다는 신기 지딘베 양탑에 따와서야디 다 간다라 가르르지 다 계신 무식직 차대요 알았어.
Now, there's also the view of believing in karmic cause and result, or we also call this the correct worldly view. And holding this view is extremely important.
마란주 뒤에 나로네 두알롱게 나로라 수림 냠반을 라이 따와 냠반 대다 마이노 사지 뜻이지 버지 예외의 삼르지 디 따와데 지금의 양타에 따와로 샤고 있으래서
Now, it says in the topics of Vinaya, the Vinaya Vastu, it says it would be easy if you lose your discipline. However, if you lose your view, it would not be easy. And when we say view here, it means the correct worldly view.
Rabdu chungwanam choa ponga jikdimbanam tawa ponga sa jikishiman tawa sunga sa di tawa sa di jikdimbanam tawa ponga sa di chera shenzu chime nalo le sebo shibu sonsha di jigden ba tawa ponga sa di jigden be yang tawe tawa le yunde le yisheba sa di imata chezan jigden ba de de sonsha di nalo le jigden ba de so namgyun di je lende le yishe yoba na chi kunjo le yishe yoba na chi ras utu yonde 내 나자르데 좋은데 우토요는 가르치 그랬잖아. 엔 뼈도 매도든지 키세. 지금 라도 쏘안 로레스. 지금 말라. 그래서 신동나 신경하다 돼서 쏘안 로레스. 다때 가르잖아. 군저를 이마체 봐. 렌드를 이마체 봐. 니치아사디 지금에서 가보여 알았어. 라도 중화돼서 소화 수념을 라레베 인두산. ngar jagale so sunyum la rale be indusan ne de ru to bo de ya be ne de gimbu be ne de be shindu ne de jason dana ji be oner ne karshwa da ji be shibiji karshwa tenke gi yuen den da de chudim tenke gi yuen de de ba tizuina da jinda le indusan da ya di bele tap de sia karshwa da go 냥가 첩시다. 가르세나 그 초와디 집에 담아서 라레디 인자 긴든 라우드 총하나 초와 가서 초와 본가 초와 가세 초와 본가서 가서 지지세 로버 초와도 본거스 로즈도 본거스 안 지딘 바드디 아니 양탑에다 율기야 가고 알았어. 그래서 아 드링 주스다네 데레 나지 제자 지딘비 양탑에 따왔어야 돼. 그 뒤기에를 해야 돼. 지금이 양답에 따와서 그 길에 사디 걸이야 다지 쉬나 sometimes 주주고 좀 너는 괜찮아 쉬는 봐.
In the treasury of Abhidharma, it says that it is difficult for monastics to give up their livelihood. It is difficult for worldly people to give up their views. This is as described in the Chedat Shades of Chenmo. And so what this means is when it's difficult for the worldly people to give up their view, this means the correct worldly view. So here, it's easy for worldly people to give up their view. And difficult and easy for monastics to give up their proper livelihood. So for the worldly view, for the view here would mean the correct worldly view. And what this means is that it means the belief in the faith in the three jewels and belief in karma, cause, and effect. Now, like if they're worldly people, then normally they have some belief in the three jewels and in karma, cause, and effect. But if they get into a really difficult situation, then they'll get their incense and flowers and go off to make the offerings to some worldly deity at some shrine. And so this shows that they do not have really stable belief in the three jewels and in karmic cause and effect. For monastics, it is their livelihood that is their downfall. It's like even if you have elder monks and nuns, elder monastics who are like a mountain, they have really pure discipline, they really follow the rules and codes of conduct very well. And yet the moment that but it's difficult for them with their livelihood, because the moment a patron comes, their livelihood depends upon their patron. So the moment the patron comes, they flatter the patron and so forth in order to get things. And so for this reason, it is easy for the monastics to give up the right livelihood, and easy for the worldly people to give up the right views. And so the right view here for the worldly people means the correct worldly view. So now I would like to speak for a few moments about what the correct world, or when the correct worldly view arises.
Oh yeah. 그냥 찍다 네 오면다 네 오면다 가래 줘 네 오면다 간디네 지 로그지 지 괜찮아요. 로그지. 내가 니 사운드 보스 때 티드 바지니 지 게히비게도 가라다. 왜 디 라보 마찬 사운드 보스 티디 니 사운드 보스 자들 지치. 로그지 도유서 말에 सबसे 로 야용다. 로 야용다. सबसे 와다 드린 주스다 단 지dim에 양답 따와디 까담비 숭주질이야. 되네 지dim에 양답 따와디 졸람 쇠네 타고레스. 졸람 쇠라 다 쇠 증본이 타고레스. 졸람 쇠 증본이 타고레스. 숭주지 여브레 다디 파바토믹 숭요아레스. 다 이민의 딱지 제거야지 이미라 다간다. 파바토믹이 되지 숭유메 딱지 제거야지 이말에. 다간나신 푸중외 까다미 기회 신신 푸중외 세바레스지. 푸중외 군제 숨기 나네. 까다미 기회 군제 숨기 나네. 되네 디기 세바레스야죠 아래. 푸중외 세바레스야죠. 푸중외 세바데 가르쳐서나 지디메 양답에 따와서디 되네 초람님 저고레스 아직 이제 푸중외들 소요 알았어. 초람 다이면은 남중 아주 용자기 지디메 양답에 따와서디 지 가네기레스 게 상상을 시셔두스다네 지디메 양답에 따와서디 렌젤이 이신이야바네 고주고레스다 렌젤이 이신이야바 안드레인 주사 렌젤이 이신이야바사데 버지 라마슈기 가사랑 렌젤이 이신이야바데 용쇼만로 아 렌 주사네 다디 준셀데네 간다든데기 지금이 양답에 따와서데 가네기레스다 상sam디 따지셔봐래.
Now, in some Kadampa texts, it says that the correct worldly view arises. It says that the correct worldly view arises at the stage of forbearance on the path of joining. And it is said that this is an explanation given by Asanga, but we need to examine whether or not Asanga actually stated this or not. There is also an explanation of the Kadampa master Puchungwa. And Puchungwa explained, he was one of the three jewels of the Kadampa lineage, and his explanation is that the...
Three Kunjesum.
Excuse me, not three jewels. He's one of the three Dharma brothers of the Kadampa lineage, one of the three disciples of Asanga. And his explanation is that the correct worldly view arises from the path of accumulation. Now, however, when we usually talk about the correct worldly view, what is generally said is that one gains the correct worldly view from the time that one achieves belief in karmic cause and effect. And it is quite possible that individuals who have not yet entered the path may have this belief in karmic cause and effect. And so this is basically when the level at which the correct worldly view arises.
Otata dendeveda o lende deliada tagen alone ji dagwen jibo da wang jibo da ani jinami gi jibo diso kande jung jungres ta mangbo sundwa den justane ta 소주에 당제의 조디 지기 채통화의 내마와당 채마세바를 시도와 sommarwe 다 채마세바를 시도와서데 채세마서 당 아주 하고 말고 다 인비네 가시 다지 오늘 디스지 다다다 시레메 안 섬상데서 가시 시도도 와. 네 주산다 지기 제 마서 버 시월에서 봐 샤고면 셔면도 제 세마도 아주 통어 말어 간다 드리지네 가실 저 로슈슈 이제 로르도 싫어했대 너네가 알아 당제
Now, there are many different dominant results and cosmically compatible results that are described in the jewel ornament of liberation. For example, it states that as the dominant result of killing, one may die before the end of one's life force, and so die before your life force is exhausted. Now, this is difficult for us to see and tell, but we do see that there are people who die early, so this is explained as one of the dominant results of killing, that you die before your life force is used up. So maybe this is like the examples that we sometimes see of young people who suddenly die.
다는 신기 맹기 누바 냠네 맹기 누바 냠에 온주 산에 민슈니 숨베게 맨 튠세 튠 버나 튠 맨디 튠직 당한 저기 회사에서 tin상 뒤줄디 튠직디 내소 미뉴바 ngalege 튠세 닌규르도 셰네 쇠베 있는 조세 벤샤와로 근데 민슈 남들의 송구 여자 안드레인 주산에 단 도나 지당기 메사드수 자멘티수 베베미슈 셰란 셰비미나 야가르 지당도 최근 중공 야가르 인주산에 자셔부 십시레데 임베냐 사자디 최 전부 예배 인상 맹기 뉴바디 충충 자로레스 아니 베바디 베리아 중세 실외 인상 맹기 뉴바 체가레스 속불로 어디서나 텔레기 한 실외 인베시나 맹기 뉴바 체가레스 아들이 순거 다 강다량 삼성 알아서 매일봐 장바세세 제나요 내래 시다 폐야 매대들 용도 와. 다 되게 가르스나 소주엘라 가외기 지 가르소에 투세난다도 다 진짜 당변 되버렸어. 근데 엄마 나만 고마스들이 소수 예보자.
Another dominant result is that the potency of medicines will decrease. And this is something that is mentioned in the medical texts as well. In the texts of medicine, it is sometimes said that there are occasions when the potency of the medicine decreases and a single dosage is not enough. And at that point, then you need to have a double dose of the medicine in order for it to be effective. And so this is taught in the texts on medicine. And also with the herbal medicines in particular, there's also, in terms of the countries, like India here is a sacred land in terms of the Dharma, but it is also a very hot country. And because it is a hot country, then the medicines have less potency. Tibet,
herbal medicine.
The herbal medicines have less potency. In Tibet, it's a colder land, and because it's colder, then the medicines are more potent, stronger. And Mongolia is an even colder land than Tibet, and so the herbal medicines are even stronger there. But there are also cases where you can have medicine, and you'll eat it as if it were tsampa, and eat as much of it as if it were tsampa, and it would still not benefit you. And so the reason for this is that it is a dominant result of enjoying to kill that the medicines lose their potency. And this is something that the masters of the past have said.
And Hana Shingi Train to San Donna to Lula top gave it cheddar Julengi me sayore Hana Shingi kinsa supplement mangbusa doga supplement mangbusa are supplement sidu santa topge men somre tinde mangbusa are andana singi dan dona julin gyata swebada men gyata swebada dana singi chewa gyata shubale ene niji soje libra sung ene lula topge bada nela pembada cherin la soba 다 텔레라고 메스트를 숨어라. 근데 산 도나 가르쳐야지. 가담베 기회 신년은 공을 저에게 디보체 세르고 마규르지 그래서 만나시기. 아주 에네 미지들이 무시비시 미지를 못 디나로래야 에네 신기베 소제와다 신라베지 내가 강가 게네 근데 이제 미지를 못 차비입니다. 아주 미지리네 미지 닝보스 게메데로 닝보 메베 톨탄동 아니 디바당 동해기 쿠르 퇴반으로 차대야지 딕도 내만으로 차다지 어다 드림이 주사 디균셀 때네 땅 아주지 되게 소주기 디부 다 공도 아주 타게나는 수만한 시기 남이게 되고 답은 되고 유튜브 되고라서 근데 되고 숨이야 왕 되고라서 다 되게 공부写写 수신도 숨어입니다 야부 연구를 삼청게
And also there are the medicines, medicines, the Julen it's called in Tibetan. These are the medicines for extracting vitality or giving vitality. These days we have supplements. And so you might be in a situation where no matter how, you could eat 100 supplements or take 100 of these Julen, the extracting the essence medicines, or have 100 different long life empowerments. But what is more beneficial for your life is to spend a single day with the vow to refrain from killing. This will give your body more power, cure more illness, and bring you a longer life. And so, keeping this with this in mind, the Kadampa masters of the past said, "May we not have a long life that we spend engaged in misdeeds." Because if we have a long life, but we spend the entire life killing and engaging in other misdeeds, then having that long human life is pointless. Even worse than being pointless, we are just adding the burden of additional misdeeds and suffering upon ourselves. We're making them even more intense and stronger. And so for that reason, it is important for us to understand the different types of results that are taught in the jewel ornament of liberation, the fully ripened result, the causally compatible result, and the dominant result. And we must keep those in mind, and it is very good for us to refrain from these misdeeds.
Dona Sangi Sheshuve Gaulia Sangi Sheshuve Gaulia G. Da Samutombani la Sobe, Gawe Nedizu, Chusung la Sobalia, Kande in Kande means Tua Shuve Gaulia, and a Sangi Shumugaba, Tegar, Deji Inda means Takanda, Tomedo, Lensungare. 이래야 다 레균제던 뇌 젠삼라서 봐. 대술로 토용주산에 저와 컨디션이네 상황로 상계 코너를 쉬니 소와 마도백이 에네 초송라서 봐. 소소하게 배 타지에네 근데 소샤부터 대파지 매외서 샤디어레 어드린 주산다 디 가르 중거로서는 레균제가 남사사야데 신도 차와 섬지 미겨봐 간다르 다 가장 공도 쉬는 신기 녀라 사버서 뭐래 다 녀라 사버서 아디 츠디 디지 누구를 두고데 임비나 다때 말하면 고사 말봐 녀라 사버 complicated is somewhat that the dirty 이미 균생을 때네 상계 권해지 쏜 거야 근데 저기 여자
And so this is the reason why that during the lifetime of the Buddha himself, when there are questions about profound emptiness and so forth, people would ask the Shariputra and Maudgalyana about them. There was no need to necessarily ask the Buddha. The Shariputra and Maudgalyana would be able to give, or someone else would be able to give a good answer about these. However, when it came to questions of karmic cause and result, then even the great pair of Maudgalyana and Shariputra would be unable to answer them. And they would only ask these questions of the Buddha. The Maudgalyana and Shariputra would be unable to answer them. And the reason for this is that karmic cause and effect is extremely subtle and very complicated. It's very problematic, you could say, or extremely complicated, so complicated that really only the Buddha can fathom it.
다치르 수수에게 미지 나로래 나라 지 수수 미지가 나로래 다 디과 남바 나서지 비 쇼지 망고지 셰베 이내야 다지 치게 참조를 써야 돼 치감이 얘기 치게 가라 참조 써야 돼 왕자 뭐 싶이 차리 있어 치게 참조 치게에게 다 삼동단을 줘 봐. 이런 시가담 이제 가르칠 때가 치게 참조를 써야 돼. 개 휴청 뭐 싶이 왕청 뭐 싶이 차리 알았어. 안드니 유산 디 균생을 때네. 아니 균도 개화체 땡이지 임베이네야. 치외 내가 치가만 치게 겁이야. 지 가르래 컨트롤러서 뭐 잡고 깨베이나 디겐게 손도 깨원 좋아진데 용대야 아래 대야 배나 치게 양해매기 좀 유는 사대요. 치게 양해매 예보 아쇼가 사디 다가다 상기 좀 된데기 롱덴베 치예를 차대요. 딱 상기 양해를 되는 로자 삼을 취해서 다디디디 라마를 끼지 방고 알아 딱 한다 로자 삼을 제일 중대 받는지 상기 좀 된데 이것을 롱덴베 취예를 차대요. 알아. 되는 공기 상기의 rin시쟁이 최대 점불리야 상기의 rin시쟁이 최대 저화신 되네가 다 가서다 미싹바진서 말왜 드리지래 미 가나 소남 침보사야 드리지래 이나양 치갈라가 될라 치게 내가블 가르쳐 버렸으나 치가 내가블이야 다 용대베 걸이야 근데 용모직 삼아 대모 용모직이 딱 가시에서는 룽야버렸어도 가시에서는 도르에서도 간다라야 지 개비 올라 포스르스 딱 바지 용모대 닌세면도 룽야버려 아니 지 돈데 신다 깔아 가수면 니 구수면로 하고 말하다 가르쳐이나 딱 간다디 개비 올라 포스르스 개비 올라 포스르산 나 오늘 개보 탐지기 꿀대비 개보지 임발라다 치외 내가올라 용문디 중앙에 nhập 주시근도 삼네 되는 콩으로 전부 깨네 시선도 아니 룰이 깨서스 두두버전지 깨서스 깨지죠 다 두두버전다 말다 간다 룰이 깨서스 두지리 깨서스 안데 내가 루주시야 나가 드링이 두산 디준셀라 되네 남주 미 치감의 정도 코랑게 대바 예세 대바 예베 라마당 진제 마도베 양 코랑게 대바 메베 라마당 다가는 신 콘도 계획이 미딘데 예베이나 아주 그 tid등겨 마스 딘데기 계지야 드리두사 디준셀 데네 지당 수수 미지나로랭아 레 쇼처사 예베냐 치계기 참조르디기 고 가르조이 지당 야 미기와징이 비네 치게 내가 치게 참조 치가 몇 내가 올래야 고랑 교샤 차고 제비네야 고랑 디 가주에 디기 더블 되네 가주에 야 건조한 라이어 되봐 하드리 주산 디야 견과시 이사래
Now, within our human lives, we do various different things. There are many different acts that we do. But among all of them, the intention and the preparations, the intention and the actions that we have at the time of death are especially strong. And the reason, and so for this reason, you may be someone who normally acts virtuously, only acts virtuously, but if at the moment of death, if you have an angry mind arise at the moment of death, that can function as the condition for you being reborn in the lower realms. It's like the story of the Dharma king Ashoka. Ashoka was a Dharma king who was prophesied by the Buddha. He was said to live maybe 100 years after the Buddha. There are different accounts of it, but we'll just say he lived about a century after the Buddha. And he was a great king who'd done many things for the teachings. He had made 1 million different stupas, or 10 million stupas, that were all filled, that all had relics of the Buddha in them. He had a great amount of merit. And yet, at the time of his death, he was sick. And he was lying in bed, and there was a slave, a female slave, who was cooling him with a fan, and the slave struck him on the head with a fan. Maybe she got tired and fell asleep, and the fan fell down or something. At any rate, the king woke up and thought...
Attendant.
The attendant, so the attendant dropped the fan on his head, and the king thought, here I am the king of all kings, the emperor of emperors, and yet even this attendant is disrespecting me at the time of death. And because of this thought, he was born as a type of naga. So maybe as a type of naga or as a type of snake. And it is all because of the thought he had at the time of death. And so this is the reason why when people are dying, the custom is that we only allow lamas for whom they feel faith to be in to see them. We don't allow lamas for whom they lack faith, or people who would provoke them to anger. They're not allowed in. That is the reason why that is. And likewise, there are also many people who accumulate a lot of bad karma. But at the time of death, even though they've accumulated bad karma, if at the time of death they feel a great regret and confess them, then that can affect and change their situation. So this is something that we need to understand.
치게 참저도 슉첨벌에 노드린 뉴스안에 다다다 간체난 디사레 다 치게 내가 올라 다 삼로 땅통나 다 요아 땅통나 저도 삼사로 되네 제나다 깔아 가버려 다지 치게 내가 올라 되네 제 삼로 땅통 유명 하고 말다 에디 치게 내가 올라 나사 동에 망고야 돼 내가 게임 망볼래 되네 되네지 치게 참저 야고 체투면서 아래 티줌래 드레인 디기즈한테나 마시나 가래 드레인 주스안에 다 간다라 치두드 체스에 탑디스 체네 다 체스에 탑 튜모모 임비 체스에 탑 망고야래 지당 알아주는 남규 지 세단 젤람스 페메나는 숨이나 다 세단 젤람 라보르도 세데 개점이 있어래 페메는 나는 숨받을 제나 세데 아 클래스 카세들이야 맹기 두시 샤오르스 카세 맹기 두시 샤오르만도 카세 칼란 두시 간베 파베 또사는 시전 쩝 세샤나 되네 수보르네고 아래 맹기 두시신 멘사디 멘베기 리부 카세 사오르스나 디 딱다다다 사오르마도 텔레 마와마임바 텔레 뇽와마임바 서요르바 되는 신기 칼라스야데 메는 신 삼단 메지레 사브르 되네체네 자다 아니 젤람 사드 계속 있어 젤람 라바도 아주 긴두면 나라래지 가르래 젤람 지 루제 자라 소바당 나나 신기 지 최대 샤들이 계속 시다입니다 데데체제 간다 체스미 탑려야 배배이나 땡땡지 가르래 다디 치게래 나 난게긴 지 삼바 구양 못 차다 지 다나시 공부 수만의 신기 지 소주배기 지 소주베게 도발량을 써봐. 어디 제비면 되는지 된다고 치다 난게 튕긴 상마 상황입니다. 된데 세령을 팬도 연구를 삼정게 너나 미카시지 가르친 거라서나 때지 강연을 준비 걸이야. 다 때지 강연마다 강연을 준비 걸이야. 다 강연이 이 수인의 사마로 답에 깔아가고 좀 다다 녀도 시소나 가사레 사마로 된지기 되네. 바 쉬어서 바 몰람 잡생은 용도 뒤야부야만 소 런시 개바다 야부 매가 시험하고 봐 쉬어서 몰람 잡대 야부 말았어 가르에서는 챈디 동에 삼람 마수에나 세럽치만 이렇게 동에 되네 못하면바디 가르에서 돌아서 아들이 뒤균선을 되네 세럽 치멀이야 지 수술이야 지 오늘 야부 요한으로 지기 되지 딩수에로 지 매베미나 건중 먼중으로 되는 배 가르소에 디 시와쇼 다 나쇼 시쇼사로 되네 뭐라 잡이나 야부 요마레스 되니 주산에 다 텔레 준주나는 송반나신 심지에다 탐제 체험 방매된 거 쇼 송반나신기 대한 다도 대회 소견 치외자 차면 유를 수반는 신데 몰라면 야부 겹 근데 제비입니다 야부요래 다 되래 다 알아니 오늘 드린 탭자 사서
On the other hand, you must not think to yourself, I can change everything at the time of death. I can do whatever I want now. I can go, doesn't matter now. I can do what I want now because I can change my mind at the time of death. But that's not at all the case. You really don't know what you're going to be able to do at the time of death and what it'll be like at the time of death. So even though the power of the mind at the moment of death is really strong, you don't know whether you'll be able to control your mind at that time. And so at that point, it's actually much better not to die. It's better to do things to prolong this life that we can. Actually, in Tibetan medicine, we talk about two factors. And these factors are food and our use of our body. So for food, what it means here is that we need to think of food as medicine. Normally, we don't really think of food as medicine. If we just think of food as something that we're eating, and then it's the same as pigs eating, and there's no point to that. But we should instead think of it like medicine. With medicine, then you take exactly the number of pills, the correct dosage as described by the doctor. You don't take more, you don't take fewer, you take exactly the amount that the doctor prescribes. And it's the same with food. You should think of it like medicine and take what you need. Then also in terms of what we do with the body, for us in the Sangha in particular, it's very important for us to think about exercise and to maintain our bodily health. And so these are the external things that we can do to extend our life. These are the external conditions. There are also the internal conditions, and these are, as I mentioned before, these are giving up killing and so forth. And so when we have both the external and the internal conditions, then it will help us to be able to live a long life. Now there are also sometimes situations where people get into a difficult situation. They have a hard time, they're having a very difficult situation. They might think to themselves, oh, it'd be better off if I dead, I'd be better off dead. So they make the aspiration, may I die. But actually, you should not make this aspiration. There's no need to mention that suicide is bad. Just making the aspiration, may I die, is also harmful. And the reason is that if we are unable to bear the suffering of this life, then how will we be able to bear the unlimited suffering that will come in future lives? So this is the reason why we should do everything we can to extend this life and to have a good life, and we should make aspirations that things go well in the future life. and it is bad to make the aspiration to have the idea that one should die. It's like Shantideva says in the aspiration from the way of the Bodhisattva. May I have a long life in good health. May I have all the great enjoyments and live for eons. And may I also be free of illness.